RX Television, RXMuscle.com. This is Iron Debate, pre-Olympia episode of Iron Debate. I'm your host, Sadiq Faruqi. So glad you can join us. We are 15 days away from prejudging. Hard to believe the 2023 Olympia begins in 15 days. 15 days, we will have prejudging. And then, of course, at night, we will get our first glimpse at the big boys. Without further ado, let's introduce our panel. First, a man that we've been trying to get on this show for quite some time. We had an opportunity to spend some time with him in Dubai at the Dubai Pro, and we're so glad we can finally get him on our channel. And that, of course, is Dennis Wolf. Dennis, welcome, my friend.
Thank you very much. Thank you for having me here.
Of course. Very much looking forward to the insight that you're going to bring on this show. And of course, when we have these kind of shows, these kind of formats, pre-Olympia, this is prime time. And for prime time, we need the prime time players. And of course, we had to get this man on, Milos Sarcev. Milos, been talking for quite some time. We got you back. Let's go.
I'm so happy to be here. Biased coaches in the business.
Let's go. Yes. Milos is not a hater. And Milos is certainly not biased. And of course, the man with the final word on all topics from our Cape Coral studios, Dave Palumbo. Dave, of course, last week, we created a bit of controversy. We're going to address it here now. And that is, of course, some of the comments that were made about Nick Walker and about his prospects for not only this Olympia, but future Olympias as well. And I'm sure we're going to have a chance to double down on that.
We don't do anything controversial here at RXMuscle. No. I don't know what you're talking about.
Gentlemen, with that, let's get right into it. Again, we teased this. One of the biggest talking points to come out of the last episode of Iron Debate that was featuring King Kamali and Armon Adibi was that of Nick Walker. Now, we have gone back and forth with the debate about Nick Walker. On one hand, most shows that he's going to be on, he is going to be the biggest, freakiest guy on stage. But there happens to be a varying array of opinions when it comes to his physique. And some may like it, some may not like it. But we posed the specific question about his prospects to win not only this Olympia, but if not this Olympia, future Olympias. Could he ever be crowned Mr. Olympia? And I think the prevailing opinion, and gentlemen, I want to go to you this so you can have a reaction to it. Prevailing opinion was other guys would have to come off. He would have to be on, which he generally is at shows, in order to have a chance at winning the Olympia. That was the opinion of King. That was the opinion of Armon. That was the opinion of Dave. Milos Sarcev, you at times have been labeled a Nick Walker, quote-unquote, hater yourself. What would you say in terms of those opinions?
President of a Nick Walker hater.
Oh, boy.
Oh, boy. I absolutely love the guy and always say exactly the same. Listen, bodybuilding is about size. Yes, he has a chance there. Balance. Oh, well, he has a problem there. Shape. Oops, there's another problem. Then conditioning, which is great. Then presentation. Then, analyzing weaknesses and all that stuff. So all that being said, considering he's entering the contest against the best in the world, they have a size and shape and definition and density and all that stuff. He is not favored to win. He can only win but by out-freaking people. But then when you say he's one of the biggest, is he? I mean, remove the arms and then look at the rest and then compare him. I mean, Samson is considerably bigger than him. Michael Krizo, right, could get into the right contest with him. Andrew, I mean, there are many guys. But can Nick Walker win the show? Absolutely. I mean, he can bring that something crazy. That hard conditioning, he's a fan favorite. I mean, you guys from New York, you've seen what Marcus Rule did on the stage of Night of Champions in New York Pro. Like, wow, but Marcus Rule never won the Olympia. So that being said, I love his mentality. He sees himself winning, right? There is that crazy weight, crazy arms off the chart. I mean, this is the biggest arms you've ever seen. But you have to connect the arms to the torso and to the legs. And he has some issues to deal with.
Dennis, let's go to you on this one because, one of the reasons that we wanted to bring you on, obviously, you, a great bodybuilding in Europe, you've been involved in the sport better part of the last 2+ decades. So you've seen, obviously, from a competitive level, but from also an analysis level, when you look at the kind of physiques you've seen, over the course of your time in bodybuilding, what do you make of what Nick Walker brings to the stage? Just to preface, we look at Nick Walker and the story that it's been. Again, he's made a career out of proving people wrong at the amateur level, at the professional level, obviously bursting onto the scene 2021, winning the Arnold Classic. And ever since then has been seen as, truly one of the elite in bodybuilding, as a threat to the Mr. Olympia crown. What is your take on what Nick Walker has brought to as a physique to the big stages?
I love actually Nick. He's a great guy. And, it's exactly what he does, what you mentioned before. He proves the people wrong. And every time he walks out on the stage, he does it, definitely. And, this is a type of physique where you're really, as a spectator, just sitting there in the audience and ask yourself, what the fuck is that? So, and he is just out powering everyone. But I wouldn't pick him as an absolute favorite physique, to win Mr. Olympia. But like I said before, he proves the people right every time he is competing. And I'm very excited what he's gonna bring on stage this time.
Well, Dennis, let me ask you, what do you like most about Nick Walker, his presentation? Obviously Milos highlighted the arms. He does have showy body parts. What stands out most about Nick Walker when it comes to his physique and his overall presentation to you?
I would say his freakishness, he looks like a freak. So it's like he separates him completely from the other guys. So it's a different picture. It's visually, he looks like different next to the guys. And in some shots, he is like overpowering him with his massive muscle mass, great condition. But of course, he has some issues. He doesn't look that nice, I would say, like the others, like Andrew Jacks or so, but like I said, he proves the people wrong every time. And I bet he's going to do it again.
Well, Dennis, before we go to Dave, I need you to, Dave, go get the camera back on Dennis. I need Dennis to tilt the camera a little bit to the right or left. I need you to zoom in on that piece of hardware, that giant piece of hardware sitting on the desk behind you.
We want to see that Arnold.
That sweet piece of swag from 2014. Okay, can we get a close up on that thing? I want to see what kind of condition it's been. About 9 years.
Keeps it very clean. It looks like
beautiful. That is incredible. I love it. Dave, let me go to you on this one because, I think King Kamali was the one who initially brought up the Branch Warren comparison, and obviously you and him debated that. I'm gonna pivot a little bit here. I'm gonna go back to it was the Classic Physique Showdown at the Arnold Classic. It was between the late George Peterson and Steve Laureus, and I remember this became a debate, which I find to be applicable here when you consider Nick Walker versus the variety of physiques that we're seeing here. We talk about a, quote, muscle contest versus a shape and structure contest. Obviously, look, Milos highlighted. Yeah, many, if not most shows, Nick Walker is going to be the biggest on stage. But in this lineup, yeah, you do have the likes of a Crizzo. You do have the likes of a Samson Dowda. Obviously, you have some very, big dudes up there. But in your opinion, again, given the consistent level of conditioning that Nick Walker generally brings to the stage, the size that he generally brings to the stage, let's revisit that debate between muscle contest versus shape and structure, and how much does that apply here?
It's funny because everyone who answers Nick Walker questions on this show always starts by saying, I really like Nick Walker. He's a great guy. Because people know that people get upset when you talk about their physiques. And I know Nick had texted Kamali after the last Iron debate we did, and I think he was a little upset, but motivated at the same time to prove us wrong that of what we said. And once again, as analysts, we have to separate ourselves from our friendship with these people. And if people don't want to be friends with us because we're analysts, I understand that. But I love Nick's physique. That you know what my physique looked like when I competed back then. It was much closer to Nick's physique than it was to Andrew Jack or Hadi Shupin. So I can completely relate with the freak factor. I love the freak factor. However, having said that, I also understand that structure trumps everything in this sport, given everything else being the same. And, like Milos pointed out, Andrew, Samson, they're bigger than Nick. I mean, so Nick's not outsizing anyone. He out-freaks a lot of guys on stage because of his crazy, gnarly, insane conditioning, and he's really got a lot of charisma on stage. But that can only take you so far at that top elite Olympia level. So what I said on the show, and I still stand by my opinion, was that the only way real Nick wins the Olympia, and he can, would be if other guys are off, the guys that are structurally better than him, the Samsons, the Andrews, even the Hadi Shupins. So, or Derek Lunsford,
right.
These guys are a little bit off. And you know what? We see it every year. Very rarely do we see a year where everyone hit. I don't think we've ever seen a year where everyone hits. There's always someone that's a little too flat, a little not hard enough, they're dehydrated too much. And so Nick is very dangerous because he's always at his best. So he could absolutely win the Olympia one year because I could see a scenario where all those top 4 guys that usually will beat him or are capable of beating him because of their structure can be off. But he definitely has he's at a disadvantage because of that. But his advantage is that he's always at his best. It won Phil Heath 7 Olympias being at his best all the time. So there's nothing wrong with that. He has to play to his strengths. And if he does, he's going to always do well. Winning the Olympia is one guy. One guy wins the Olympia. So there's nothing wrong with placing second or third. All we're saying is in order for him to win, he's not going to beat these guys when they're at their best. He's going to beat them because they're not their best. That's my opinion.
Yeah, Milos, let's go to you again. We go back to that conversation. And the reason that I brought up, George Peterson and Steve Lurie, because that was at that time, the fork in the road for classic physique. And I look at it and I apply to this because you have such a variety of physiques, in that top 6, top 7 of the open class. Where do you fall in that debate?
Well, listen, first I want to give a credit to Dennis that mentioned something that's so important. Nick always delivers, shocks people. I didn't think he's going to win the New York back in the day. And then especially going into the Arnold Classic, I didn't think he stand a chance. As soon as he stepped on that stage, I mean, he was winner within 13 seconds. Me, not liking his structure exactly and shape and all that stuff, he was just crystal clear winner. There is no question about it. Keep in mind, he was 5th at the Olympia. I think we're going to all agree he could have beat Labrada that year. Yeah. But then he was top 3 in the world, at Olympia. So he's that close. So everything that I'm saying here, it's just like you have to take with a grain of salt. He has a crazy back double biceps. Okay, you got to give it to him. He has a crazy side chest. I analyzed that before. The legs from the side and from the back are huge. Legs from the front are disbalanced. And that's why when he could win front double biceps because he has the craziest biceps in the world, right? He loses because of balance. So I'm not nitpicking on him. I'm just, putting this is the best of the best. And one guy, like Dave said, one guy can win. It's not just general show. That's the best in the world. I mean, Nick is going to the show. I talked to him like 3-4 days ago. He says, I'm winning this thing. He's so convinced. I love his mentality. And at one time when I talked to him, he says well, he likes shapely physiques, but he knows that he cannot outshape them. So he's going to out-freak them. And I'm completely for it. If I'm his coach, that's what I'm going to tell him. You're going to have to be crazy conditioned and as big as you possibly can, and then play to your strengths. But on that question, you were saying shape, or for me, shape is the king. I mean, we're going to touch that subject one by one. Size matters. Let's face it. Why did they have a 212 division? Why is this even made? History of bodybuilding: Sergio Oliva, big monster. Arnold Schwarzenegger, biggest in his area in his time. Lee Haney, biggest. I mean, he dominated in size. Dorian, Ronnie, Jay, Big Ramy, right? Size matters. So that's when we bring these 212-pound guys, you have to put in consideration, okay, well, are they really competitive? Not in size department, guarantee. So that's scratch. You know how I wanted to debate Bob Cicherillo about symmetry around, muscularity around, and all that stuff. It used to be that, and like kind of you direct. Now we're looking for the shape. Now we look for the size. Now we look for this, that. Well, now they're doing it. He said, maybe you don't pay attention, but they do those quarter turns. They have to put all these filters in a filter of size. Many guys there right now at the top will already lose. We already know they're losing the size game. Now we have to analyze everything else.
Dennis, let's get a thought from you. I mean, again, from your perspective as, competing during your period of time and the variety of physique that you saw. And now you look at, sort of what we have now, right? You have former 212 Olympia, competitors in Hadi Choopan and Derek Lunsford, 1 and 2 last year. Then you have, some of the taller competitors coming in, Samson Dauda, Crizo, Andrew Jack. Obviously you don't have a big Rami anymore. You don't have an Ian Valliere anymore, but again, you throw in the wild card like a Nick Walker. But, again, standings aside, placings aside, where do you fall on how, again, using his strengths, which is the muscle density and the consistent level of conditioning, in your opinion, how does that stack up against someone who, quote unquote, may have a better shape or structure?
I agree with Milos on it. He has to out-freak everyone. And his greatest point is the condition. He's so crisp, so dry, and, with this freaky structure, he's delivering. He's just, like I said, he's shocking the audience, and then probably the judges, because it's something different than we used to look at, right? So I mean, I was big and but still had a good physique, so I couldn't complain. But if you see something like this, let's compare myself with Branch Warren back in the days.
Right,
Branch Warren beat my ass probably more than I won against him. So and I was taller. Probably a lot heavier, bigger, but I couldn't beat him. So yeah, but with Nick, the visual effect is so incredible, so that it looks unreal. It looks unreal, and I think he knows that everybody else on stage is I would say better structured. Have beautiful physique, but he doesn't, and he knows, like Milos mentioned before, and that's why he is bringing his weapons. It's freakishness and the crazy condition.